What if I did like something that's very unlikely with Twitter URL, like a combination of things that probably wouldn't exist. I can't out brainstorm this thing. So last name and favorite color. Nobody's ever made that form before. Last name, favorite color. Boom. Okay, this is super weird. Hi, and welcome to Coding with Jesse. I'm Jesse Skinner, and today I'm going to be checking out GitHub Copilot. So it is currently in technical preview, and so if you don't already have access to it, you need to sign up for the waitlist. I did that yesterday afternoon, and I was accepted last night. So there's a good chance that you also will get quick access to it. So it is a beta preview, and it is super creepy and super weird and super powerful, and it kind of blows my mind, and you have to see it for yourself. So it is an extension for VS Code. You can find it in the extensions, GitHub Copilot. Once you install it, you need to sign in with your GitHub account so that they know that you have access to it. And once you do all that, basically all you have to do, you can go into any, well, I tried JavaScript. I used it today for work, and it was pretty interesting. I tested it mostly with JavaScript. I haven't tried out other programming languages, so we can tinker around with that maybe. But basically how it works is it predicts what code you want to write. So it's artificial intelligence. It's powered by GPT-3, which if you've heard of, or if you haven't, it is a machine learning engine or database or network that they've read in the entire contents of GitHub. So it has all that open source software in its database. And then it uses that to try to predict what you want to write next. Now you can do some pretty crazy things, like you can just write a comment saying what kind of code you want it to write. You can say like add two numbers, then you hit enter, and then boom, function add. What is in there? A plus B. Got it exactly right. How did it know? How did it know I wanted to write a useless function? All right, we won't do that. What about something a little more interesting? It thinks, see, I didn't even type subtract two numbers. It's guessing that because I just did add two numbers, maybe I want to do a subtract function. Now let's do something a little bit more interesting. So we could say get current weather. And what would that do? Function get weather lat long. Okay. And then what's next? It actually uses jQuery to load some openweathermap.org API with your API key. That's pretty good. So I have never even heard of openweathermap.org, and it's suggesting something for me. So it's pretty amazing. So what else could we do? Here's another one I tried out. Return a random number between 5 and 32. Get random temp. Okay. And look at that. It does it for you. I actually don't know if this is right. I guess it's right. It's not exactly how I'd write it, but seems like it could be correct. Between 5 and 10. See, it's kind of random in how it does it. But another thing you can do, actually, every time it's making a suggestion, you can hit Control Enter and see actually a list of suggestions. So if I do Control Enter here, it will work on synthesizing 10 solutions. I don't know why it's stuck, but there we go. So you can kind of scroll through and see the one that you like better. Most of these are basically the same. Actually, they're all the same. You can just click Accept Solution on the one that you like. Ooh, I don't know. It gave me a whole bunch of other stuff. That is strange. So it's got some quirks. I guess that's why it's still in beta, but still pretty impressive. So it's pretty useful, I think, if you want to like generate some code that is straightforward, like utility kind of code that's going to be the same all the time. But it seems to be pretty good at like predicting. Let's say this. So this is one I did today. So URL equals. So let's make a function that's like, yeah, I don't know, return URL hostname. So let's see how good it can do. Okay, that's pretty good. It uses a regular expression, but here, so let's say we want to make sure if not URL dot, yeah, well, it's checking it. So it already knows like, oh, I might want to check if there's 2 slashes in it. But here's so let's say I want to do URL that starts with HTTP. That's true, yeah. And then, or maybe I want to do, there it is, starts with HTTPS. So this was like an actual example I wrote today, and that is exactly what I was going to write. And so I find it's pretty useful at like predicting what I'm about to write, which is creepy, but also kind of useful. See, it kind of gets in your way a little bit when you hit tab. That might not be what you're trying to do. So it is a little bit wonky at times, as you can see. Yeah, that's kind of weird. So it's, I don't know, that's kind of annoying. So what I actually want to do is URL equals, let's say HTTP plus URL. So it didn't actually predict that. Let's see if I can come up with that. So that's if it does start with, oh yeah, that's true. It actually is smarter than I am. I meant if it doesn't start with, I want to add those. So does it understand now what I want to do? Yeah, it actually, yeah, it was exactly right. So you can see it's like super useful. It can speed up your development a little bit if the predictions it's making are like already what you were expecting to do, or if you're not even sure how to write certain code. I'm still suspicious of this. That's not with the -5+1. That's not normally how I would do this, but I guess that has to do with whether it's inclusive or not. Anyway. That's like the one thing I would worry about with it is if it's writing code for you, you're not actually sure if that code works or not. Like I don't know about this regular expression. Is that actually useful code, or is it copying this from, like a bug that's somewhere? So that's where I'd be a little bit suspicious. Another thing where it's pretty useful is, so I don't know how to demonstrate this right now, but what came up in my work was I was like already making, so let's say we make a list. Let's see if it can handle it. Let's say, what if we want to do like fruit? I bet it's gonna like autocomplete this for us. Yeah, there. Isn't that weird? So it came up with 3 fruits. There must be some code out there that already had this. So then, so let's say we make a function called, oh, there, boom, get fruit. What's it gonna do? It's gonna return fruit. That's not exactly what I wanted to do. So let's say function get random fruit. Can I figure it out? Yeah, it already figured out what I wanted to do. So in some cases, like it can already guess, actually pretty much in every case, it can already guess what it is that you're trying to do and return, like write the code for you. There's also some subtle places where it's useful, like I had a, so this will be like a kind of derive. Oh, pretty good. Fruit of fruit. And no, I don't want to console log it. But let's say we wanted to make, let's say we had some code in here. And then what I added today to something, I added a total to a loop. And then yeah, that's exactly what I was going to do. Fruit.length. How did it know? I don't know. It's super creepy. So it, like once you start writing some code to your existing code, it will like be pretty good at guessing that when you're making other changes to that code that it relates to the changes you just made. Like if you had an unused variable here, then it might figure out that you want to return the unused variable. Like if there is an unused variable, then it's guessing that that's probably the thing you want to do. It could have guessed total there. I bet if I delete that and then control enter, It's going to be return total, return unused variable. I'm not sure. Unused variable. I don't know why it's adding a lot more stuff to my code. But so what if I make a function that's like get total get total length of all fruit. Look at that. It actually writes like a shorter version of it than what I just had, using reduce and everything. Again, like if you didn't know how to use reduce, then I would feel weary not quite knowing if this code works. But that's pretty cool. I could see it being useful. I wonder if it'd be useful, like if you have tests written, I wonder if it could take that into account. I'm not sure if it looks at multiple files or not. If it can, it must have some IntelliSense in that regard. I wonder if we could write a test and then have it like auto make the test. What if I made a function where it's not going to guess what the function's going to do? And then I wrote some other code that uses that function. Then if I'm in here, is it going to use that as context to figure out what to do? I don't know. Let's see. No, it doesn't seem to be able to do that. So I guess if you had like if you wrote your tests first, test-driven development, it's not necessarily going to it's not going to use that as input necessarily. But I could see in the future that it could. That's definitely something that I could learn how to do. What else can we try? Well, I could try let's try making a new a different programming language. So let's say, or let's do some HTML. Can it do HTML? I'm not sure. I haven't tried that. So I'm going to make I'm using Emmet here to make a example document. So would it know what I'm going to do next in this example? Ooh, yeah, well, it makes some, I think, Chinese or Japanese form that's super unrelated to anything I was doing, but that's interesting. Very specific in this example. I don't even know what templating language it is. And it's doing some user update to an admin. We can do Control Enter. Oh, you can do next and previous, Alt, square bracket. Wow, so then some PHP, some different admin login from the Chinese thing. It's just a few examples there, but okay, let's say we want to do contact form. Does that give it a clue? So programming in the future might be more about like, giving the right clues to GitHub Copilot so that it knows what you're trying to do. What if we just did it in comment form? So contact form with email, message, and date. Something really kind of, well, look at that. Email, message, and date. Boom. What if I'm kind of amazed. So what if we did something that couldn't possibly already exist? Contact form with just gibberish. It didn't actually work. So I think it must need like real life examples. The gibberish it just ignored. So what if I did like something that's very unlikely? With Twitter URL, like a combination of things that probably wouldn't exist. I can't out brainstorm this thing. So last name and favorite color. Nobody's ever made that form before. Last name, favorite color. Boom. Okay, this is super weird. Even favorite color, it came up with fav color. I guess someone else has done that before. I'm like stunned with this thing. So, yeah, like my first instinct when I installed this and started using it was like some kind of sadness, like the fun was taken out of it, or I don't know. It was like I started wondering if I should start looking for a new career. But I feel like having this as an assistant is super useful. And I guess that's why they call it a Copilot, your AI pair programmer, because it's not really writing the code for you. You still have to lead it, and it is more like a partner that's suggesting certain stuff and isn't always right. So it's not like, at least not yet, it's not going to just, you know, get rid of every programmer's job. I think what it can do more usefully is make our jobs easier, make us faster, more productive, and, potentially be able to earn more money that way because we can do things faster. We can get more done with less time. That would be the hope anyway. So I almost feel like we all have to start using something like this because other people who are using it are just going to have an easier time. But I don't know, there's some weirdness, right? Like, what if I don't really like fav color? Is it less time for me to use the suggestion and then modify it? Maybe if I go into here, there's some different examples that I like better that don't use fav color. Oh, here's one that uses favorite color instead with camel case. Maybe I like that one better. And I guess I can just do, how does it work? So I can do alt square brackets. So we can kind of scroll through some examples and find the one that we like better. And go with that. It's like definitely a game changer. I maybe won't even be the last tool that's like this, but I think it's just another example of, machine learning being, just changing every industry, So I've already been using something like this with Gmail. Gmail's been auto suggesting replies and finishing my sentences for me. And if you're familiar with that, it's like a lot of the time you don't want it to be exactly what it's suggesting. But there's been times when I wasn't quite sure how to end my sentence, and Gmail actually had a decent ending for me, and I went with that. So yeah, it's definitely weird. Let's try it. I just want to experiment a little bit. Let's make a. Does it have good support for Lua? I love Lua, but let's see. So I don't know. Let's write a Lua comment. Add 2 numbers. Can it do the same thing in Lua? No, it doesn't seem to. Oh yeah, it actually found one. Yeah, let's do that one. Okay. So what if I do like, get the current weather? Is it gonna translate that other example? What was it called? Open weather. I don't even know. Openweathermap.org. Can it figure it out? Yeah, that's actually pretty good. This is a very specific example of London, UK. What if I change that to be like the other one, lat long? Can it figure out what to do? Maybe there seems to be a delay, so maybe it has a harder time finding. Oh, there. And do you think it's actually has these examples in Lua, or do you think it's using other programming languages and mixing and matching the the logic into those? I don't know. That's interesting. Whose app ID is this? Is this the same one I had in the JavaScript? Oh, I didn't have one in the JavaScript. Yeah, that's a thing that concerns me is like, where did this app ID come from? I've seen that earlier today too. That must be from someone in GitHub that committed some example code that had their app ID in it. And so I wonder if, like, as I'm writing code, is it as it's being uploaded to GitHub Copilot for them to auto predict, is it also adding to their database? Like, if I have private keys and stuff in my code, is that going to show up in other people's suggestions later? Am I training Copilot with the custom code I write? And how does that relate to, like, you know, the fact that I don't necessarily own my code? I'm a freelancer, so I'm being paid to write code. And is that, it's not really clear to me what it's doing with that. I'm gonna assume that it's not. I'm gonna assume that it's has that privacy built in, that they're not being reckless with that, but I don't know. I saw an example. I forget what it was exactly, but I think somebody had Copilot autocomplete like some important source code from, I think it was Doom, the original Doom code or something like that, or some open source game. So there's some definitely questions around that, like where does this code come from? What are the licenses that were used to write it originally? And is it like, am I allowed to copy that code? That's some open questions I have about it. But still, it's like definitely interesting. I'll have to see how it goes a little bit longer. I think I'll write up a blog post about some of my experiences with it. But just like, I've used it for a few hours today for work, and it was like it was like helpful at a few times. There was a few times where it saved me at least some typing. I haven't used it where it figured out a solution that wasn't already in my head. I find it more useful when it's guessing what I'm about to do and it's right. Then I can just hit tab. Just like autocomplete normally is useful. So we'll see how it goes. I think it's pretty cool. You should get on the waiting list if you're not already and try it out. And maybe it's not helpful for you. Maybe it's too creepy, and maybe it gets in your way. Maybe I'll turn it off. But so far, I'm gonna keep it on and see how it goes. Anyway, check it out, and until next time, thanks for watching.